What you're going to get from Jeff Thenelli is an entrepreneurial journey of the ups and downs, from starting from nothing to literally billions of dollars in sales, to building brands. And what I can do is teach you through my experience that you can take to save you time, money, and have more fun. Be super.
All right, this is the Obsessed Show with Jeff Thenelli. We've got Alex Oswiecinski. Can I pronounce that right?
Yeah. I mean,
It's a tough one.
Alish.
Alex was a former teammate, did a tour of duty for over 6 years at Which, and now he's on to bigger and better things. And on the Obsessed Show, we like to talk about what you're obsessed with, where you're going, what you're doing, what you're thinking. Because in life, I only want to be around people that are obsessed. And I like to say, I'm selfish with my obsessions, but generous with my possessions. So sometimes you keep your obsessions to yourself. But Alex, you left here, and I supported your departure. I don't know if you remember this, because I believe I want to support progressive moves. And you left to start your own company called Prospect Direct. Mm-hmm. Tell us about what it is, how's it going, and did you learn anything while you were here?
Yeah, 6 years here, I learned a lot. One of the goals coming here from TGI Fridays, big, giant brand, was to learn from an entrepreneur directly, and definitely got that experience and took a lot away.
We traveled the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a lot when you were here. It seems like just a blip in the radar, but you were head of international, and you're wearing one of the United Kingdom deals that you did there for Which. Yeah. But let's talk about you. So wait, I put you in some position. You had no idea what you were doing?
I was connected to a lot of suppliers, and I said, hey, through these suppliers, I can find franchisees that are kind of like legit developers that have both the money and have knowledge of the market and can like set up all the stuff, so we don't have to set it up from scratch.
Yeah.
And
because you're a purchasing guy.
Right.
Yeah, you came under here like to help with the purchasing and supply chain. And next thing you know, we're sending you around the world developing stores with Which.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the bread vendors, that we had in common, and that's how you were connected with me and came over, and it's like, dude, this is, like you said, I was from scratch. Like, for me, it was a new brand from scratch that we could like bring overseas and kind of introduce as like a competitor to Subway, and there wasn't really a number two player in those markets. I thought that was exciting. Like, on the development side, though, I hadn't done franchise sales. Let's just say I think the world of Which has touched like a lot of different places.
It's almost 20 years old, and for real, yeah.
Yeah, and the franchise and restaurant world, you'll see people floating around, and I mean, I think it's a good experience that everybody's had in growing, fast at sometimes, other times like leveling off. It's just, it's led to a perspective that like I'm able to go across and look at the franchising industry as a whole and see where different brands are in the curve now.
Yeah, it's all life cycle and curves. Sure.
Yeah.
So you did the tour of duty here. You left, and I kind of remember, and you reminded me of, you told me what you were going to do, and you named your company Prospect Direct. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking that if anything that maybe you could have learned from me is how to name something. But sometimes it doesn't matter what you name them. It's like, I'm a big fan of alliteration and, working real hard on names. But now there's like ChatGPT and other things that can help you name things like in an instant. And you're using some of that technology with your own company. Why don't we talk about that? What's out there right now in 2023 right now that could be game-changing for any company?
Yeah, ChatGPT, I'm like full head in on that thing because a big part of what we do is copywriting. So I have like copywriters set up to do outbound lead generation, and having like one or two copywriters kind of in a box looking at the same type of emails and things like that for a long time, they get stuck in creative box. When you can go to ChatGPT and burst out of that with a bunch of different variations and then tell it, talk like a 46-year-old guy from Wisconsin and give all these nuances to it and see what it comes up with instantly, it's changed. So what we've done internally is be like, we're outwardly a lead generation company. Internally, we're a testing company. So we are 10xing our testing. So like what gets rolled out, it has 10 times the amount of nuanced, every little piece is getting tested, and building up our systems for that kind of on the like beneath the iceberg beneath the water side is getting built up with testing.
Yeah. So you put out 10 ideas out there, and the one that works the best, you just keep doubling down on. Is that
1,000 ideas?
1,000 ideas. So out of 1,000 ideas, like how much you would make a test of like one idea 1,000 times and see which one works?
It's more like
How do you know if they work?
using well, we have like 1,600 campaigns running right now across like 90 brands.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of different test beds we can do. So we could change, subject line, copy, like different positioning, and put it out in the market immediately and see what kind of responses and engagement we get, and then track all that.
Has there been a home run test out there that you launched out of the 1,600 pieces out there, or it sounds like you're doing thousands of pieces, but has there been like a just out of the park home run, something that like is historic for your company? One piece?
I don't want to name a specific brand, but like
you can leave them nameless, but just in general.
An international pizza brand. I mean, we put it out there and just used their kind of legendary status. And normally we're getting like, one hit out of every like 1,000 email. This one was like one out of every like 20.
Wow.
And these are two people that are like millionaires overseas. Like you shouldn't be able to get a hold of them without a network easily. And it was like we had to slow down the campaigns. Like,
well, that's a good problem to have.
We'd filled up their quota for like 6 months in like a week. So
wow.
Yeah.
So did they fire you?
We just
we're good now. Can we cut our contract short, or how does that work in business?
It's basically just like their credit card's on file, and
Yeah.
it's like, are you sure we can charge it again 2 days later? Like it was that kind of conversation. So
Those are good conversations to have. I mean, something works so well that you have to like, just pause your business just to address the amount of business that you have. So, great problems to have. What else? So ChatGPT has gone up so fast. Like if you talk to anyone out there, a lot of people don't even know what it is still. But 3 months ago, I probably would go to some of our team members and like, chat what? Mm-hmm. So I've got just a theory out there. What goes up fast goes down fast too. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's one of these things that are going, or do you think it's here to stay, or is the regulation going to come in, or is it going to be monetized by Microsoft and Google's, or is it the new search?
Yeah. By the way, remind me to come back to data and the origin of our company. It comes back from Switzerland to like going to that meeting. That was really when I had an aha moment.
So we used to go to the European Food Service Summit, which is probably the best restaurant conference. And I hate to say that because now I let people in on one of our secrets, but it's they only take a limited 250 people. And Alex, we went there, but you had a brainstorm or idea there?
Well, it was weird. Like they had all these like Nobel level speakers and things.
Speaking are incredible.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, I'll pay attention to. They're not even restaurant guys. They're just like IQ level through the roof.
Yeah.
And the last slide of the last guy who was like the futurist for Coca-Cola, it just said data. And I'm like, out of all these trends and future predictions, how could one word be the final slide with all these people in the room? And he's so sure of it.
What was the word?
Data.
Okay.
Like data is the new oil. Data is the future. And at that time, everybody kind of like takes that for granted now almost, that data flows through Google and Facebook and social. And back then it wasn't that obvious. And it just stuck with me. I'm like, data. So that's when I started playing with contact lists and just figuring out. And the co-founder of my company is a database guy. I would just meet with him at Starbucks twice a week and just be like, dude, teach me about databases. Teach me about like what this means with audiences. And I mean, I realized that in business, I was done supply chain. I had now done development. The two areas I hadn't really known were marketing and IT. And ironically, the company I created is a marketing IT company, the stuff I was weakest in.
Yeah.
Because that's where I was fascinated. I knew my gaps in business were there.
But the word you took away there was data. If you would have told me I'm thinking about starting a company, maybe direct data or data direct, or like some say data, some say data. But
the domain name is tough always. That's where I had some good ideas. Then a domain name would be off a little bit. Like,
but the .com doesn't matter because of search now.
I thought it was important back then.
Back then, yeah. One word can change your life, and it was data in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. So with that, but I remember one of this. It might be the same speaker. What I remember, I think that year was, if you want to find success in any company, whether it be restaurant, look where the investment is, because it usually takes 10 years for the investment to play out later. Yeah. And so at that time, McDonald's was heavily invested in technology. And they said, well, what do you know, if you're going to be a futurist, what do you bank on? Well, you look at the investment and then you fast forward 10 years because that's when it should play out. So that was probably 10 years ago. And now you look at McDonald's and they're pretty much all kiosk in their restaurants right now. So they really invested heavily in technology.
I heard they have an employee-less one here in Texas.
Yeah. I think they're,
Totally, yeah.
even the
I need to
burgers
go to
are
that.
made by robots and everything.
100%. That's
Wow,
crazy.
that's
But yeah, Australia and New Zealand were always where they tested the most future concept because the labor rate was the highest.
well, now there's no labor because it's
Right.
machine. All right, so that was Switzerland. What your company's how old right now?
We're about 5 years.
Okay, and how many employees?
U.S.-wise, 5. Overseas, we have a couple teams of
And
like
what
about
was last
18
year?
people.
Last year's revenue?
Almost 3 million.
Okay, so I call it the Thenelli Rule of 5s, and you're on your way because I believe that you want to do businesses with the companies that are at least 5 years old because they have a track record. They have at least 5 full-time employees, which now you have 5 plus other, outsourced, and they have $5 million in revenue. I found when you have those 3 5s, it's a safe bet. We just went through an RFP package for our company, Which, and there were 6 companies in there, and this was over a decade ago. One of them still exists. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful what you do business with. Right now, you are on your way to having a safe business. 98% of all businesses don't make it to 10 years, and you're on that cusp right now with the 5, 5, 5, and then you'll get to 10 years. Do you see yourself still at the helm in 10 years, or are you getting tempted to start something else as an entrepreneur?
No, because back to the ChatGPT conversation, I get reinvigorated by a new Lego piece that gets put in, and I'm like, oh man, like this changes the dynamics, and I get to like innovate and kind of problem solve and turn around. So there's stagnant periods where I'm like, I'm getting in the weeds a lot, and I'm starting to mess with my employees' worlds because I don't feel anything new, and I'm just optimizing the existing machine. And then ChatGPT comes in, and I'm like, all right, see you guys. Like, I'm gonna go back to the lab for a while.
Is that the shiny new object? Because as entrepreneurs, you got to be careful of that shiny new object. I'm guilty of it. Like I'll go out there and I'll see, a new sandwich or a new something to do that could better our business, and it's tough because it's change. As entrepreneurs, we're always looking to make our businesses better, but as a team, what does your team think of ChatGPT? Because you're in your own lab and
yeah, I said like that was me at first. I'm like, I got to use this thing. AI's been around for a long time. A Google search is technically AI. There's all these things
sure.
That word's been thrown around, but ChatGPT, especially 4.0, I was like blown away. So I just had a team lunch, and I'm like, hey guys, just give me a fucking question. Like, give me a question, pop it up there, and I'm like, what? Oh, I'm sorry, your aunt passed away. Let's write a condolence letter right now, live. So I took like 3 or 4 different instances of random things in front of them. And then they started all like, what the heck? Like, this would take me forever to come up with this. So it's the real life use cases that make something like, yeah.
Well, last week we were in a session because one of the, restaurants that are still on my bucket list is to do a steakhouse. So I said, let's go up on ChatGPT and let's name a steakhouse. Work that would have taken weeks took minutes. It's really that powerful of a tool because it may not have the answer for you, but it'll get you in that dialogue with the program or the computer or the technology. Now the answer will come because you have to use part of your brain along with that brain. It's not like that's really good, but what if we just shift this here? So it's like it just accelerates everything. Yeah. That's what I like about it.
So at first I was in that. Now I'm like in creating babies with it, I call. So it's like you get a list or
How do
whatever.
you make a baby with a computer program? That's kind of sick stuff, Alex, but go there.
Okay, so you get a list or something, and then you're like, okay, but ChatGPT is only through 2021. So there's a 2-year lag. So I can go to Google and get last month's data from something. Mm-hmm. So I take that, paste it into ChatGPT and say, okay, thanks for the info. Now use the latest trend from the last 3 months from this chart here and tell me, now connect the dots to now. And you can actually like form that. Or that's like one instance of just like crossing over like 2 sources of information and having it do that. Or like I take a classic piece of like advertising writing, like from Ogilvy, like somebody, and say like, okay, it's like what do they call it? Haley might know this. It's like
Tombstone.
where they juxtapose like a rich dad, poor dad in an advertising, and then so anyway, take this style of advertising and apply it to franchising. So I cut and paste like a classic advertising piece, and I say, but the franchise is this. Now write it in this format, and it'll like create a baby with those two that's in that classic format. That would take a lot of mental energy to do.
All right, so you're making stuff to better your business. What are you paying for this? That's the real question. You know, it's like
The price of ChatGPT?
Yeah.
The real price?
Yeah. What is the real price of it? Is it going to come back? Like, you know, they say there's no such thing as a free lunch. And this is, you know, search has been free, but, you know, now we see the ads. You know, what is the price of this? Because it's a great tool right now.
Don't want to think about it. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a really hard, because there's an optimistic and a pessimistic view, and I'm just listening to a lot of like big thinkers on different podcasts myself, and the optimistic view is it'll continue to be an amplifier for yourself, and everybody will have a personal assistant, and it's like everybody will be kind of a CEO. You know, that's the positive case. The negative case is that somehow it replaces a big chunk of society. I don't know. It disrupts the economy to such a severe level that it creates a widening disparity of incomes, things like that.
It's a disruptor, but
we're talking about like a macro view. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's already like, you know, for advertising agencies, which technically you have an agency. It's like, if I have the same tools that you have and it's AI, why would I pay your agency when I can maybe find it here? Obviously you pay it for your professionalism. You use it every day. And, but it's so intriguing about what is going on out there. So,
yeah,
like,
7 years from now, because they won't be needed anymore.
which has always been the case with, like, you know, horses going to automobiles and things like that. I think it's just like this is a rapid
horses going to automobiles. It's like
mean,
lawyers going to AI computers. You don't need to go to law school anymore because the content out there, you can research case law. Hey, what happened in
that doesn't seem that bad.
what? Like, yeah. It's like, yeah, but then how does it get monetized? Because instead of getting a billable hour from a lawyer that's hundreds of dollars, this knowledge base of legal research that can help you in $1 billion court case, like somehow, you know, it seems, you know, the scales of business doesn't make sense. Something that costs nominal or for free, that now you bypass a whole industry of law firms to create your, I mean, it's like, does anyone need a professional? Like even medical, like if you can type in your ailments right now and it can tell you what's wrong with you. And then pretty soon we're going to have like scans on our computers through technology. I mean, it's like this whole world is, I think it's awesome. The technology.
you like the idea.
I
of what's coming.
love change. Yeah. I love what's coming. It scares a lot of people, but you know, I'm not fearful of change. I never have been.
Yeah. I think if you're an and you believe in the best in people will use this for the best. So.
But what if you don't? What if you're the other way? Negative. What's the opposite of a?
We've had nuclear weapons for how long, and things are still at bay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We have powerful tools out there.
This is just a different kind of powerful tool.
Yeah. So you're making babies with AI. What else are you doing, Alex? Yeah. So look, Alex, since you've left, I think we've got a brand now, Pachugo, brand Earth Burger. We just picked up a new brand in the fitness industry called Vibe Flow Yoga. We started a new thing called an iteration of Which called Which, and we've got Burguesa, and we're just in Supernova. So we've got multiples of companies. But how do you see? And we're not only the only people innovating. There's new brands. There's legacy brands. Where do you see the future of, well, mainly restaurant brands or branding? Do people want something new, or do they like the McDonald's and the legacy?
Yeah. I mean, with COVID, we saw a big shift to like kind of lower investment brands and home services, because people were staying home and fixing up their homes. I actually think we're probably at maybe the peak of that. Like, I think home values with interest rates, people don't have that free capital to invest in their homes to borrow against and things. So I think, but there was an explosion there. The home services area really exploded out of COVID.
Yeah, that would make sense. Just because
restaurants got a bit tighter is, like I think rent and labor going up was a squeeze on restaurants. I think we might cycle back to where restaurant growth might start up again. That's kind of where I see it right now.
I hope so. A lot of people during COVID left the industry, and that's for the restaurant industry, that's problematic. So we have to get new people in or get some of the old people back because they went into maybe home care, like you were saying, or they went into delivery because that's what was needed. But now, we've got all these boxes out there that need employees and need people to work. And now, you got McDonald's that are doing machines that are making Big Macs. So, it's really a quite interesting. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe we should ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Is ChatGPT really a crystal ball? Or is it just like
it could become one, but not right now.
It's not predictive.
No.
It's analytical.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because to predict the future, you need, you can look at the past, but nobody knows the future. At least I don't.
No, I feel like with ChatGPT, the future, least into the future right now. Like I used to be able to see like a year or so, like my business and things. Now I'm like 3 months out. I feel like.
Oh, that's the typical entrepreneur. Let's reverse the clock because I'm older than you are. The entrepreneurial journey. At one time, you'd write a 5-year business plan. Okay, you take it to the bank, maybe get financing, and then that didn't work. So now, all right, let's write the 2-year plan. That didn't work. Then the 1-year plan, and then pretty soon the 1-year plan. We need quarterly plans, so you break it down and then the quarterly plan, and let's do the 30-day, the weekly. Then pretty soon it gets to like, what are we doing tomorrow? That's almost like where business is. You wake up and because the world changes so fast. And look, ChatGPT, nobody was talking about 3 months ago. So that's already changed how we do things, even how we do things at Which in our companies. We're using it as a tool to maybe write publications or forward look for trends. So it's, it's like the business plan. Did you write a business plan for your company?
No, because I never got funding. I didn't have to formally do that, but I had like a deck internally when I first hired people just to like show what we were kind of going towards.
But you know what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never really formally written a business plan. And a lot of people do it, but I like to say, well, people are writing business plans. I'm opening businesses. It sounds like you took that path there too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we started out as a data company selling like chunks of data, and it was very tough harder than I thought to scale. So we had to pivot to lead generation, and that required a lot of like on the move learning while I was burning cash. And it was like, that was tough.
Yeah. Let's talk about, as your journey as an entrepreneur, what, I hate this question, but I'm going to ask it. What keeps you up at night?
Now?
Yeah.
Right now, we bet big on email, and I know like it's old school, but I've always had this, like direct mail is still on an 80-year run. Like it's still there, right? Has it been replaced in a lot of ways? But yeah, because it's like a quasi almost government thing. Email is the same. It's an electronic version of it. So while saturation of these platforms keeps happening, and it literally the performance on the platform like wipes out companies when they change the algorithm and things, email is fairly steady. But with ChatGPT and things, like the amount of quantity of the inbox and things is accelerating fast. So I would say just how much acceleration of that and what we'd have to do to counterbalance it over a longer period of time.
Yeah, I was in a presentation years ago, and they were talking about private networks, that was going to be how you were going to communicate. And I think that they've played out like Facebooks and direct messaging, because the email platform is just it's like spam, and you go to your U.S. postal box and it's just a bunch of spam, or they still call it spam, or like you just get a bunch of mail that you didn't ask for. And I think we're finding that play out in email. They said, well, according to this guy, this presentation was almost 20 years ago, that he said email is going to be obsolete in 10 years. Well, that was 10 years ago, and now you're still saying it's safe. And I believe it is. Look, we have ways to filter out emails. And
it's because important stuff's still in there.
There's nuggets. Every once in a while, I'll open something from a marketing company that you're probably prospecting direct to me, hence I get the name finally. And wow, I could really use those pants, because my other one's worn out, or oh, that's what the competitor's doing. So
It still physically opens their mailbox, and you get a little section of people's attention even in there,
yeah,
and you still get some mind share every single time.
yeah, because I've got this quote that I learned from my grandfather. He said, Jeff, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, open every piece of mail and sign every check, because it keeps a pulse on your business. So look, my grandfather is now passed, but I still keep an eye on the physical mail, and so much so that it comes in a big box. I sift through it because sometimes you find a check or something lodged in a magazine. Mm-hmm. So now I also sift through. I can't sift through everyone's email in the company, but I sift through mine, and every once in a while I find a nugget like, oh, wow, I didn't know I had to renew this, or here's a check because we signed up for something that is forward looking. So sign every piece of mail, open every piece of mail and sign every check. So it's hard to sign checks in the digital world, but just if you think about that as a theory, how would that apply to you?
Yeah.
Open every piece of mail.
Yeah.
Or at least look at it, sift it.
Yeah. I just because I'm in the email game, I'm realistic that like there is a lot of spam and everything. But
what percentage would you say is spam?
I mean, that's the thing is we're now in a Coke and Pepsi situation with Google and Microsoft, right? With Outlook and Gmail.
Okay.
So they're controlling the world. They're controlling what goes into which junk box, inbox, primary.
But is it spam if you signed up for a mailing list from a company?
No.
Okay. So take that out.
Mm-hmm.
But that mail list that I signed up for, like say these pants, Vuori pants, okay?
Yeah,
I probably
that's
get
a Vuori jacket.
Yeah, all right. So we got a Vuori thing going on here. Mm-hmm. Birds of a feather flocking together. So, but I get, the marketing things for Vuori. Here's our new tennis apparel. There's so much. And I'm a fan of the brand, so I keep my account active, or, somehow on a receipt they know who I am. I don't know if they know who I am, but the computer knows who I am. So, and I'm sure you get the same thing. So is that spam? Because I get a lot of it. I'm like, man, and it may cause me to miss something that's important.
Yeah. Spam, technically it's not spam. Spam by law is if you were to opt out of something or, and they don't obey the Can Spam Act. So it's a government act that went in 2001. So as long as they're obeying that, it's a legal email. So that's how I separate it. Is it wanted? And that do you get engagement with it? So if you're sending people, if you're sending every day an email and people are like marking it opt out and everything, you'll actually get your domain banned. So there's like a restriction, a banning, there's like different precedents. So that's always,
does opting out work? I've opted out of some stuff, and
unless you're like, there's really shady illegal operators that don't like abide by that. But like everything we send has like opt out. We're dealing with brands that would care if we were not.
Is there anything that you're sending me that should get my attention?
Other franchise brands that you're not aware of.
Yeah,
maybe?
that's what I'm curious. Is there one out there that like, because I get them and I'm like I don't know who's behind it sometimes, and like, well, they're because you only have like 5 or 6 words sometimes in the subject matter to get someone's attention. Mm-hmm. It's either coming from a franchise portal, the brand direct, and then you have a very limited amount of, is that what you focus on, those
subject line? We're always testing subject lines because it has to get the attention, but you don't want it to be misleading, and it has to like correspond to what's in the email. And then we do, it's always a personal opening. So it's like from a human being, and I'm this human being. We've never veered from that. We never start with like,
so it would
check
say
this out,
to Jeff.
like ChatGPT. We don't try to like use like clickbaity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we're all about like if the person's actually interested and actually responds to another human being and starts a conversation. Otherwise, we'd be selling crap leads, and then people would be like, "Well, great, you gave us a lot of leads, but they're crap." Like, we just want to retain, and so that's one thing we've never really compromised on. Is it's highly personal and authentic.
Yeah. So where do you draw the line? I get a lot of calls right now that are marketing. Okay, mm-hmm. Phone calls. Every once in a while, there's a text out there. It's very seldom. I get some direct messages on strays of people prospecting. Email is just, anyone that can find Jeff at whichwich.com sends me an email. Can I just get 15 minutes of your time? Can I just, where is, how do you feel about text?
It's more personal because it's like right in your face and respond. So I hate like cold texting. We've looked at it and be like, we're not going there.
Yeah.
Texting in the world of like sales and development, I believe is only good for a follow-up. Like you already have engaged with the person, either had a phone conversation or initial email conversation, like, hey, what's up? Like 2:00 good for you? That's perfect. That's where texting belongs in the like funnel.
The funnel. What is a funnel? Because a lot of people talk about the funnel.
Mm-hmm. It's attention, the old Glengarry. I mean, it's essentially where you have some sort of interest and, I think ClickFunnels and Facebook really, what's his name? The ClickFunnel guy started that, but really getting that initial disruption on somebody's newsfeed in Facebook and then pulling them into a story, getting them to fill out a form, click, whatnot. And then everybody started using that term for the top. Are you top of the funnel? Are you middle of the funnel? Are you bottom?
So you mentioned you're going real big on email. Are you doing anything with the social funnels on that side?
Not anymore. We used to do Facebook, and it would always be like, put an ad out and a lot of interest, and their algorithm would just like tank after like 3-4 weeks, and then it'd get really expensive. So we'd have to like, if they wanted to keep doing Facebook, we'd have to like charge a ton, and there was other companies doing it better, the bigger like agencies. So we dropped off that. We used to do LinkedIn, and then LinkedIn really got flooded, and they stopped. Like you can only invite 100 people instead of 1,000. So Microsoft took them over and cut down this ability to spam and everything. So we've just focused on email and really just honing in on optimizing that. Yeah.
We've traveled the world together. Okay. We've gone to many different countries. We've had some great experiences. I'll never forget. We'll leave the country and, the partner's nameless, but I got off the plane one time and you're already in the country, and we get picked up in a brand new Rolls Royce still with plastic on the seats.
Uh-huh.
And the license plate number was number 1. And you kind of like, in certain countries, that's as good as it gets, right? Because you buy those plates, or, like you have to be, somebody.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we've had some, that's about as good of an experience as you can get. I feel like it was a dream.
They've adopted a lot. Like this is like the Middle East.
Yeah.
I have a Middle East shirt too, by the way. I kept like a few of them.
Are you gonna do a wardrobe fit change here?
No, I was gonna. In the Middle East, though, like the expensive cars are so everywhere. Like in Dubai, you pull up and it's like, in order to get the next level of social status, what do you need? You need that 3-digit plate, that 2-digit plate. I think it's like the ruler of the country is one. The royal family gets the double-digit plates, and then so on. But that's how they differentiate their $1 million car.
Let's talk entrepreneurship. What are you obsessed about? Just, it doesn't have to be in business and life. Like I found it during COVID. I found a new obsession with tennis for me. Mm-hmm. So much that my body is physically aching in many places because of the amount I punish myself on the tennis court. But for you, what's there an obsession out there for you?
Yeah. I'll go, like, first of all, we need to play tennis because I've gotten back into it a lot.
Okay.
I'm like,
you're like what?
Level of tennis.
Yeah.
I'm ready to play.
Do you have a level?
Oh, I'm like a 4.0, 4.5.
Oh boy, here we go. We got a game.
What about you?
I can play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you beat Courtney?
Courtney just broke 2 fingers, so I've got a chance right now. But right now she takes it to me.
Gotcha.
But but I feel the tides are going to turn here soon.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I played Todd once, but obsession-wise, I got really into like baseball card, like essentially the stuff I collected as a kid.
Yeah.
Had a big. I don't know if you heard. If you like Gary V, he was talking about sports cards as one of his like 6 things he talks about, and it wasn't just because of that, but I got back into it. I started collecting really, really old cards, so football and basketball from like the origin of the sport.
Okay.
And I got really into like the story of these original guys that had like essentially like a job, and football like paid nothing or whatever, and they were the best at that time. They were like the Tom Brady of that.
Like how old are these cards? Like what year?
really like post World War II, 1948
Wow.
is where basketball and football starts. In baseball, you go back to like the tobacco era of like the Honus Wagner and stuff. So they had an origin before that, but really 1948, and that's where you get like the first sets.
And do you have a Grail card, something that like if the house was burning down, you would take that card out? Do you have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. I mean, being from Cleveland, so I'm a big Browns fan. So
Sure.
Otto Graham, who you ever heard of him?
No.
See, that's a crazy. You've heard Johnny.
Sounds like Instagram, autogram.
Auto-
It's like,
You've heard Johnny Unitas.
yes.
So
But he
before
was
Unitas,
the Colts, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So Otto Graham played 10 years, and he made 10 championships and won 7, which is the same as Tom Brady. But Tom Brady took 21 years to do it.
And
But
he
nobody
only took
knows
10.
this about Otto Graham.
Otto Graham. What position did he play?
Quarterback.
And you have an autogram card.
Yeah, I have like the 8th best conditioned one in the world. Yeah. So that's like probably a holy grail.
Wow. That's what I mean by obsessed. It's like,
Yeah, I have like an Instagram.
have you made money?
I'm probably
don't-
ahead on it.
I haven't-
It's come down a little bit late, but it's mostly the modern cards because a lot of the flippers, like you saw these like sneaker flippers and things, and you were talking about trends and like, is ChatGPT a trend? Like Bitcoin's gone through it, all these things. Same with cards, like it became a trend. But I already saw what happened in the late 80s and 90s with cards, and I know that like the modern ones, they're getting overproduced. These manufacturers are going to get greedy again, and the same thing's going to happen. But guess what they can't make more of is these retired Hall of Famers,
Yeah.
and especially when they signed it and they've been dead for like 20 years. Like that's the stuff I'm collecting now most.
Well, it's the people are probably dead, so you're collecting.
Yeah.
A lot of the companies that probably made those cards are no longer in existence, so they're not printing more. It's not like you can go to a print shop and make a replica. Have you had any fakes?
No, because
And
now
that-
the companies are encapsulating them in plastic and grading them in holograms. So they're essentially becoming like a jeweler or like modern art, where the third-party company is like $1 billion public company, and it's like it's not the level of like a stock security. Like there's still some fraud, but it's compared to the 90s and things, it's like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I don't know if tennis is healthy because, like, if you play hard, you're going to get injured, and
It depends if your brain and your body are connected, because I have a big loopy forehand,
Yeah.
and it like I can't hold back when I'm in mid competition mode, and then I twist my back and my lower back starts going, and I'm like,
Well,
I gotta change my forehand mode.
My brain still thinks it's 18 years old.
Right.
Just around, just juvenile humor, and I think I can do things that I did 30 years ago, and I think that's where I run into the problems. It's just the brain is younger than the body. So you too, huh?
Same.
Big
Yeah.
loopy forehand.
Oh yeah, I'm technically a millennial, so we're different generations, and I guess my body is still preserved.
What am I, a baby boomer? Am I a boomer? My kids call me a boomer. Do you know what a Karen is?
Yeah.
I heard there's a Karen cafe where they're just rude to you.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, Alex. Man, this is it's great to talk about obsessions. Reunite. It's been a while. Since you left your tour duty here, you've started a successful company that you're out there called Prospect Direct. Man, I'm so happy for you.